Been covering here on Mornings the huge number of our female politicians who say they've been experiencing online threats and abuse, including the New South Wales Agriculture Minister, Tara Moriarty. She revealed to us last week that she's gone to New South Wales Police twice to report death threats.
These threats have crossed the line. It's been going on for years. I have reported it to the police, and I just hope we can have a better standard in New South Wales politics.
Well, since then, several female politicians have come forward to tell us they too are bombarded with online threats and vile messages. Here's what the New South Wales Police Commissioner, Mal Lanyon, said to Craig this morning on Breakfast about how police in this state are investigating threats such as these.
A number of the profiles that are used to actually post these comments, as you can imagine, they're cowardly. They'll be false identities. They'll be a false profile. We work very closely with victims. We also look at the nature of the threats there. In New South Wales, the majority of offences require an intent. So if someone is threatening or posting a comment that would be a threat, we need to make sure that there's an intent for it. But there are Commonwealth offences that we regularly prosecute people for inciting people online to harass, menace or be offended.
That's the Police Commissioner Mal Lanyon there this morning. There is new research out today which shows that online abuse of women in politics is no longer a fringe threat. It affects 89%. That's right, 89% of women across local, state and federal government. We'll have more on that for you in a moment, but I wanted to introduce you to the Mayor of Cumberland. Ola Hummett, the Mayor's car was torched outside her Maryland's home back in April. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Hamish.
You became Cumberland Mayor in 2024, the first female Muslim mayor the council has had. Do you believe the car bombing was linked to your public role?
I suspect it was. Obviously, the police are still investigating, but given the online abuse, I've got strong reasons to believe that, yes, it's certainly related.
When you say strong reasons to believe, I guess what we're hearing from police that the threats online need to have intent, not just verbally distressing. Can you draw a connection? Can you see those connections?
I mean, absolutely, especially when you look at the ALGWA report that says 61% of women councillors reported experiencing bullying, harassment and intimidation. I mean, that's an alarming statistic. And indeed 59% reported physical or mental health impacts as a result of that behaviour. So as was said earlier, it is a systemic cultural issue that needs to be addressed quite seriously and quite urgently.
I imagine the substance of this stuff is pretty distressing. So to the extent that you're comfortable sharing, what kind of stuff gets levelled at you? What kind of threats and abuse comes in?
Being told that you deserve to die because you're a Muslim, and all the gender-based, threats and rhetoric that you get all the time. That intersectionality doesn't help, I suppose.
Being a Muslim in particular?
Being a Muslim in particular, but indeed being a woman as well. So, it's terrifying.
Ola Hummett is here, the Mayor of Cumberland Council. Police told us yesterday that officers from Cumberland Police Area Command are continuing to investigate the firebombing of your car. A 17-year-old boy was arrested the month following the attack and charged in connection with the incident. What have police told you about the investigation? Are they treating this as something that is connected with politics?
Look, it was referred to the counter-terrorism unit, so that indicates to me that there may be some connection. But can I say to you in the strongest terms possible that this isn't the first time I've received threats. We've had women councillors only 2 weeks ago be told that somebody was going to come around and kill them and their family. As I say, it is a systemic cultural issue and it needs to change.
But I just want to be clear. Do you think police are treating the threats, the online stuff, seriously enough?
Look, I think as Australians, we all need to do more. I think we, in particular, politicians need to lower the temperature. I think we need to start treating each other with a bit more kindness. This certainly isn't the Australia that I know and love. And it's certainly not the Australia that I want to be a part of. The Australia that I know and love is one that respects that intersectionality, respects people for who they are, and everyone has a right to a workplace that is safe and free of intimidation and all the rest of it.
But my question is whether police are treating it seriously enough.
I hope so. I have a very good relationship with the local police, and there is no doubt in my mind that they are doing what they can. But on a systemic level, I think we all need to be doing more to address this issue around women's safety in politics.
I do need to move on, but there's a particular feature of local government, which is that candidates at council elections have to publish a residential address on electoral material. Is that safe in the current climate?
Not in my view. The requirement to publish residential addresses exposes elected representatives, in particular women and their families, to unnecessary personal risk. And I would recommend people reading the Dr. Coleman-Algua report, which talks to that in quite a lot of detail.
Ola Hamid, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you, Hamish.
Stay safe.
You too. Thanks, mate.
Mornings with Hamish McDonald.
7:02 ABC Sydney.
What do you make of that conversation? Are you surprised to hear a suburban mayor in Sydney describe having her car firebombed? 1300 222 702. What's happened to our city, to our society, to our community, to our democracy? 1300 222 702. I want to talk a little bit more about this new research out this morning, which demonstrates the staggering levels of this abuse faced by women entering politics. The study was conducted by Women for Election. It's a not-for-profit organisation, and its focus is on increasing the number of women running for public office in Australia. Its CEO is Licia Heath. She's here in the studio to talk to you. Good morning to you.
Morning.
I've got to say the figures are quite shocking, even though I guess I've seen some examples of this. 89% of all women in politics or running facing some kind of abuse or intimidation.
That's right. They are shocking. They're disturbing. Sadly, they're not a surprise to me. I guess they affirm the increasing anecdotal evidence that I was getting as a leader of somebody who tries to inspire more women to run for public office, which is why we launched this survey in the first place. And there's more research to be done, but it's startling and we should all be concerned.
Almost 80% of the people you surveyed reckon that it's actually increased over the past 2 years. So what's happened recently?
There's more than one thing, but significant technology advances and the way AI has really allowed abuse to scale at an industrial level has really played a very big part. So that is from deploying thousands of bots onto people's social media, often deployed from offshore, not deployed from inside the electorate. And then even more heinous things like nudification apps that are being utilised in our community, but also to target elected women to send images out to their electorates, their families, their followers, to try to silence their voices.
A colleague here at 702 who's been listening to our coverage of this recently shared with me a series of highly distressing screen grabs overnight of a post on Facebook of an article from the Daily Telegraph at the time of the Midwinter Ball, and it was an image of the teal female politicians, the bulk of them from Sydney, so included Allegra Spender, Sophie Scomps, Zali Steggall. There was a couple of others there from elsewhere. And the comments thread on the Facebook post was horrific.
Yeah.
Now, the Daily Telegraph removed the post, but the process is such that the publication, the person making the post has to monitor it and then take it down. Is that the right order? Like, what about, A, the platform's responsibility, but also what about a system where actually for the comment to go up, it be approved first?
Well, this goes exactly to the point. The solution here is not for women to get tougher. it is to go to the root cause, which is the systems and the tech platforms. There is technology that exists that we are now assisting elected women in this country to access to protect them online, but that is about them protecting themselves, isn't it? It's not the tech platforms.
Can you just address that? Because your figures show 40%, only 47% of female politicians who experienced abuse reported it. And clearly that's been an issue for some of the female politicians we've spoken to in the last week. Tara Moriarty, also the Animal Justice MP, and of course Sue Higginson, who we spoke to yesterday from the Greens. Varying processes and experiences in terms of going to police. What's the issue? Why? Because I suspect some people will say, why don't you report it? But then that seems to present a whole other range of complexity.
Well, it certainly does. I spoke to 30 women over the weekend who completed, they're just a small cohort of who completed our survey, saying, would you go on record talking about your experience? 10 of them said yes. 20 of them said, no, absolutely not, because it'll just make it worse. So that gives you a bit of insight into some of the courage of women speaking out publicly about this issue now to say enough is enough. But everyone's experience is different. Some are not reporting because they're concerned that that will be weaponised in some ways. Some are reporting to the police and getting good outcomes. Some are reporting to the police and getting no outcomes. Somebody in the WA Parliament right now, a woman under attack, death threats on Facebook, has reported it to Meta and been told that that does not breach their community standards. Now, in what world is that the case? She is getting no response from Meta. So this goes to the point about responsibility sitting with the tech platforms and the amazing work that our E-Safety Commissioner is doing to hold them to account, and the public leaning in on this issue to make sure that it doesn't leave the public domain. We're not going to... Enough is enough.
Licia Heath is here, the CEO of Women for Election. You're talking about the tech platforms, but there are laws in this state, and the police have a function here. I want to play you a little bit of Mal Lanyon, the Police Commissioner's explanation this morning when he spoke to Craig Rucastle.
A number of the profiles that are used to actually post these comments, as you can imagine, they're cowardly. They'll be false identities. They'll be a false profile. We work very closely with victims. We also look at the nature of the threats there. In New South Wales, the majority of offences require an intent. So if someone is threatening or posting a comment that would be a threat, we need to make sure that there's an intent for it. But there are Commonwealth offences that we regularly prosecute people for inciting people online to harass, menace or be offended.
How do you come at that description? Because essentially he seems to be pointing to the possibility that whilst it may be vile, it may be intimidating, it might not be a real danger.
Well, what the overseas research is showing now is that online threats are increasingly leading to physical threats. And that's what your previous speaker just talked about, Ola, that, had her car firebombed. I think the permissive nature of threats in social media, or the dehumanising, or the sexualised comments, or coming after people's children, it's so permissive that others feel emboldened to then pile on. Where we see people having the greatest success, women in politics, is reporting to the E-Safety Commissioner, who then reports to the police and the platforms to move into action. And that is that is something I want everybody, every elected woman, every candidate to know about. And we actually produce a module now at Women for Election with the E-Safety Commissioner in our training about how to report, but also how to stay safe online.
Can you explain for listeners what the situation is at local government level? I didn't realise that local councillors had to publish their address. Ola Hamid, is pretty blunt about it, that it doesn't seem a safe thing to do in the current circumstances. Would you like to see that changed?
Absolutely, and there's been a lot of advocacy from a lot of people for an extended period of time. Hamish, I feel like we're waiting for someone to be killed in office, particularly in local government. 87% of elected roles in this country are at local government level. that we are waiting for that to happen until these safety measures are put in place. In Victoria, advocacy has been successful. Local government candidates do not need to publish their address anymore. They can use a PO box, for example. In every other state, that is not the case, and it needs to change.
Licia, Heath, really appreciate you coming in this morning. You said something just then that I suspect might have shocked people, which is that you feel the authorities are waiting for someone to be killed. I'm conscious that in other countries that has happened. My sense is it's kind of hard to get the people in authority to really address this in a substantive way. I've asked the Premier to come on. Obviously, Mal Lanyon spoke on breakfast this morning, but we have invited him on this program. My sense is there's an awareness of this problem, but I don't know whether people kind of agree with what you've just articulated.
Well, the research would show that offshore, it's already happened. Our Northern Hemisphere neighbours are suffering terribly, and we are 2 years behind how they are suffering right now, would be my personal view. I'm so incredibly proud of Australia, our democracy, the way public can get involved in our democracy, the democracy sausage, volunteering for the AEC. That's incredibly important part of how our democracy operates, but we are at a tipping point right now. This is a wake-up call. Democracy is at risk. So let's start moving on all of these issues now so that in 5 years' time we haven't gone significantly backwards with all the elections we have in this country.
Terry's here from Lura with a question. Terry, what is it?
Hi, Hamish. Look, what I've heard disturbs me deeply, and I just can't believe that the unsocial media is allowed to do that sort of stuff. What I'd like to know is what are the comparative statistics for male councillors and male politicians, because that would give us, I think, a better perspective of how this stuff is really affecting poorly our politicians and reflecting poorly on some members of society.
I have an answer for you. I'm going to go to the UK first. So there's 3 people that have been killed in office in the UK now, 1 man and 2 women across the political spectrum. In Australia, men in politics are certainly suffering online attacks as well. No question at all. But what we can see from the research is that the level of attack is different. Men are attacked most frequently because of their policy positions. Women are most likely attacked under sexualised attacks, dehumanising attacks involving their children and family, and death threats. And that is the difference. So it's considerable. And if we have more competent women choosing not to run in this country, and it only gets filled by people who can sustain these kind of attacks, robots, then that's a problem for all of us.
Terry, thanks for your call. Licia, Heath, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thanks, Hamish.
That is Licia Heath there, the CEO of Women for Election. We're coming up to news time. Rod on the text line. Hamish, I've never seen such an elaborate smokescreen